Portugal. A land of endless oceans. A land of ancient castles standing in silence. A land of music born from longing and sunsets that seem to slow time itself. Along its shores, Atlantic waves crash against beaches and cliffs, shaping a coastline that has guided sailors for centuries. Blue azulejo tiles shine on old facades, telling stories of faith, kings, and everyday life. This is the westernmost edge of continental Europe. A country where borders have remained unchanged since the 13th century and where history feels alive, not distant. Here, time flows gently, carried by the melancholic notes of fado, a music that holds the Portuguese soul. Portugal is more than a place on the map. It is a feeling that lingers. And this is where the journey begins. About 500 miles from mainland Portugal and hundreds of miles from Africa, Madeira stands alone in the Atlantic. This volcanic archipelago rose from the ocean through fire, forming steep mountains, black lava cliffs, and dramatic coastlines. Although it sits on the African tectonic plate, Madeira is part of Portugal and deeply connected to European history and culture. For centuries, sailors spoke of distant Atlantic islands filled with beauty and calm, calling them the Isles of the Blessed. Long before official discovery, Vikings and Arab seafarers may have reached these shores, leaving clues hidden in old records. In 1419, Portuguese explorers were pushed off course by a storm and found safe land at Porto Santo. Soon after, they noticed a dark cloud on the horizon and discovered a larger island covered in thick forests, which they named Madeira, meaning wood. Madeira first grew rich from sugar, becoming one of the world's earliest sugar producers and a key stop in Atlantic trade. Later, vineyards replaced sugar fields, and Madeira wine travelled across Europe and the Americas. Today, Madeira is known for its year-round mild climate, volcanic rock pools carved by the ocean, and towns built directly into steep Atlantic cliffs. Before we continue, here's a quick question for you. Which country shares a border with Portugal? Comment your answer below. Millions of years ago, a violent upheaval at the meeting point of three tectonic plates forced massive volcanoes up from the ocean floor, giving birth to the Azores. A lonely archipelago in the heart of the Atlantic, where people say that if you want to see paradise, well, you only need to look out the airplane window before landing. The Azores sit about halfway between mainland Portugal and the United States, more than 1,000 kilometres from Europe. They are made up of 9 volcanic islands, stretching over 600 kilometres across the ocean. Every island was shaped by fire, and some volcanoes are still considered active today. What once were craters are now peaceful lakes, filled with rainwater and wrapped in mist. This mild ocean climate keeps temperatures comfortable, rarely too hot and almost never freezing. Wide pastures cover much of the land, where dairy cows roam freely and supply the island's famous milk and cheese. Expect wide green fields where local cattle roam freely. Often called happy cows by the people who live here. For centuries, these islands also served as a stopping point for ships and airplanes crossing the Atlantic. For millions of years, wind and waves carved the southern edge of Portugal into something unreal. Golden cliffs, hidden caves, and a coastline shaped by time itself. This land is called Algarve. It lies at the very south of Portugal, where the land meets the Atlantic Ocean under warm sunlight. The coastline stretches for more than 150 kilometres, filled with beaches and tall rock walls rising from the water. The sea here is clear and blue, making it a perfect place for kayaking, boat trips, and exploring the coast from the water. Away from the beaches, Algarve is home to quiet fishing villages and old towns that have stood for hundreds of years. Narrow stone streets lead past white houses with small balconies often covered in colourful flowers. Life in these towns moves slowly, shaped by the sea, the sun, and long-standing traditions. The region enjoys around 300 sunny days each year, which is why people visit in every season. Summer brings crowds and heat, while spring and autumn offer cooler weather and calmer streets. Because of its beauty and gentle climate, Algarve has become the most visited region in Portugal. Every year, millions of travellers come here from across Europe and beyond. They call it the Princess Ring because of its near-perfect circular shape, but its origin is far from romantic. It began as a phreatomagmatic explosion, a violent clash of fire and seawater, leaving behind a 150-metre wide crater that is now a refuge for some of the Atlantic's rarest marine life. This explosion happened about 4,000 to 5,000 years ago, when magma rose from the seafloor near São Miguel Island in the Azores. As hot lava met cold ocean water, it shattered into ash and rock, quickly building a low volcanic cone above the sea. Over centuries, powerful waves eroded the cone and broke open one side, allowing the ocean to flow inside. What remained was a natural lagoon, protected from strong currents and surrounded by steep volcanic walls. Those walls are made of yellow and brown volcanic tuff, formed from layers of ash thrown into the air by ancient blasts. Because the water inside the crater is calmer than the open Atlantic, fish, seabirds, and marine life found a rare safe space here. To protect this fragile balance, the islet was declared a nature reserve in 1983. Have you ever visited Islote de Vila Franca? Drop a 1 in the comments if you have, or a 2 if it's on your travel list. Lagoa Pau Pique is a small volcanic crater lake on the island of São Miguel in the Azores, Portugal. It sits about 700 metres above sea level, high in the natural landscape of the Sete Cidades Massif. The lake was formed inside an old volcanic crater. Around Lagoa Pau Pique, lush Macaronesian forests grow, filled with plants native to this part of the world. To reach the lake, visitors usually follow a nature trail rather than driving right up to it. From above, the calm water reflects the trees and the sky, making the scene perfect for photos. Because it is off the main tourist paths, Lagoa Pau Pique feels peaceful and nearly untouched by crowds. The lake is surrounded by tall trees and forest that help keep the air cool and green year-round. Lagoa Pau Pique offers a quiet chance to appreciate the volcanic and forested beauty that the Azores are known for. Cows grazing in thick fog. Twisted trees standing alone in open green meadows. This is not a movie set, this is Fanal Forest. Fanal sits on the Pol de Serra plateau in northwest Madeira, about 1,150 metres above sea level. It is part of the Louri Silva Forest, a UNESCO World Heritage Site that protects a rare type of laurel woodland. These laurel forests once covered much of southern Europe, but today they survive in only a few places like Madeira. Some of the trees here are centuries old, shaped slowly by wind, moisture, and time. Thick fog often rolls through the area, hiding and revealing the forest again and again. Because of this, Fanal is known by many names, including the fairy forest and the cloud forest. The laurel leaves absorb water from the mist, helping the forest stay green and humid all year round. People come here to hike, picnic under the trees, and photograph a landscape that is always changing. To protect this fragile place, visitor limits and marked paths are being introduced to keep Fanal alive for the future. We gathered information from many different sources. If anything seems incorrect or if you have something to add, please leave a comment. We would love to hear from you. This looks like a house from the Stone Age, but this is not a movie set and it is not ancient history. This is a real home, hidden in the mountains of Portugal. It is called Casa do Penedo, built between 4 massive granite boulders in the Serra da Estrela mountains in northern Portugal. Construction began in 1972, led by a Portuguese textile engineer who wanted a quiet weekend retreat for his family, far from city life. This is Belém Tower, the silent guardian of Portugal's greatest journeys. Built in the early 1500s by architect Francisco de Arruda, the tower rose during Portugal's Age of Discoveries. It stood on a small island in the Tagus River, close to Lisbon, facing the open sea. From here, ships left home to explore new lands, and this tower was their last sight of Portugal. At the same time, its heavy bastion and cannons protected the city from enemy ships. The tower was made from local Leo's limestone, strong enough to face waves, storms, and time. Its style is called manuline, filled with stone carvings inspired by ropes, knots, and the sea. You can also see Moorish touches, like small turrets shaped like minarets. As the years passed, the tower's purpose changed with the world around it. In 1655, it became a customs post where goods entering Lisbon were carefully checked. Later, it guided sailors as a lighthouse, helping ships find their way along the river. For many years, it even served as a state prison hidden behind its thick stone walls. Restoration projects across the centuries helped protect the tower from weather and decay. In 1983, UNESCO recognised Belém Tower as a World Heritage Site for its global value. Near the calm Tagus River in Belém stands Jerónimos Monastery, one of Lisbon's most famous landmarks. It was built in the early 1500s, at the very place where sailors once began their journeys into the unknown. This monastery is deeply linked to Vasco da Gama, who prayed here before sailing to India. King Manuel I ordered its construction, using wealth earned from Portugal's great sea voyages. The building shows the Manueline style, a Gothic design filled with ropes, anchors, plants, and symbols of the sea. Walking through its cloisters feels calm and balanced, like time has slowed down. For centuries, this place was also a resting place for Portuguese kings. The monastery replaced an older church that once helped sailors find shelter and hope. Even the Great Earthquake of 1755 could not destroy it, adding to its sense of mystery. Today, as a UNESCO World Heritage Site, Jerónimos Monastery stands as a quiet bridge between Portugal's past and the journey ahead. This isn't a movie set. It's a chaotic masterpiece of Gothic, Islamic, and Renaissance styles, built on the bones of a devastated monastery. The palace stands on top of a hill in the Sintra Mountains, high enough to be seen from Lisbon on a clear day. This place began in the Middle Ages with a small chapel dedicated to Our Lady of Pena. In 1493, King John II and Queen Leonor came here on pilgrimage to honour a sacred vow. Later, King Manuel I ordered a monastery to be built for the Order of St. Jerome. Lightning strikes and the Great Lisbon Earthquake of 1755 left the monastery badly damaged and abandoned. For For decades, only ruins remained on this hill. In 1838, King Ferdinand II bought the land and decided to rebuild it as a summer palace. He hired a German engineer and mixed many styles into one bold design. Bright yellow walls, deep red towers and blue tiles replaced the old stone ruins. Catholic symbols, Islamic details and even Greek mythology now stand side by side. Today, Pena Palace is a national monument, a UNESCO World Heritage Site and one of the 7 wonders of Portugal. Hidden inside the forests of Sintra stands a castle, filled with symbols of secret societies, alchemy and hidden beliefs. This place is called Quinta da Regaleira, and it sits close to the historic centre of Sintra, Portugal. It was built in the early 1900s by Antonio Augusto Carvalho Monteiro, a wealthy man, who had a deep interest in mysticism and hidden knowledge. Monteiro bought the estate in 1893 and slowly expanded it into the shape it has today. To bring his vision to life, he worked with Italian architect Luigi Manini. Around them, a garden was created with lakes, caves and winding paths through dense greenery. One of the most striking features is the deep spiral wells, built into the ground like towers turned upside down. These wells have stone stairs and small windows that lead visitors slowly downward. Across the estate, symbols linked to Freemasonry, the Knights Templar, and alchemy are hidden in the architecture. Because of its unique design and cultural value, Quinta da Regaleira became part of Sintra's UNESCO World Heritage Site. About 2/3 of the vineyards here are planted on slopes steeper than 30%. No other significant wine region in the world farms like this. This is the Douro Valley. Shielded by the Maro Mountains, the valley is cut off from the rainy Atlantic winds. This natural barrier creates hot, dry summers and long, severe winters deep inland. The Douro River stretches for 897 kilometres, flowing from Spain all the way to the Atlantic Ocean. For thousands of years, people followed this river and carved into its steep, rocky sides. Stone terraces were built by hand, turning impossible slopes into working farmland. On these narrow steps of land, crops like grain, fruit and vegetables grew. But grapevines thrived the most. Wine has been made here for nearly 2,000 years, slowly shaping the valley's identity. In 1756, the Douro became the first wine region in the world to be legally defined. Just 1 year later, its vineyards were officially classified, decades before other famous regions in Europe. Today, this human-shaped landscape is protected as a World Heritage Site. Porto is the second largest city in Portugal, located in the north of the country, just after Lisbon in size. The city stands at the mouth of the Douro River, where the river flows into the Atlantic Ocean. Although the city centre is small, the greater Porto metropolitan area is home to about 1.8 million people. This makes Porto an important urban area, while still feeling calm and easy to explore. Porto is one of the oldest cities in Europe, with people living here since the 2nd century BC. In Roman times, it was known as Portus Cale, a small outpost of the Roman Republic. Over many centuries, the name Portus Cale slowly changed and became the name Portugal. The historic heart of Porto was named a UNESCO World Heritage Site in 1996. This area is also a national monument, protecting old streets, buildings and city views. Porto is part of the Portuguese way of the Camino de Santiago, a famous pilgrimage route. In recent years, Porto has received major travel awards from European and global organisations. The city has a Mediterranean climate with plenty of sunshine all year. Winters in Porto are usually mild, and summers are warm but not too hot. The best months to visit are from March to early June, or from September to October, when the weather is comfortable and the city is less crowded. But this is only one side of Porto. Stay with us because there's much more to discover as the journey through Portugal continues. Cabo de Roca is officially the westernmost point of mainland Europe, the exact place where Europe ends and the Atlantic Ocean begins. It is located about 40 kilometres west of Lisbon, near the town of Colares in Portugal. This cape stands at the edge of the Sintra mountain range, inside the Sintra Cascais Natural Park. The land here rises about 140 metres above sea level, forming steep cliffs facing the ocean. From the top, the view opens wide to the vast Atlantic and the endless sky. In ancient Roman times, this place was known as Promontorium Magnum. During the Age of Sail, it was called the Rock of Lisbon by sailors. For many travellers in the past, this was the last piece of land before the open sea. To mark this important point, a lighthouse was built here in 1772. Next to it stands a stone cross facing the ocean. The climate is shaped by the Atlantic, with cool and foggy summers. Winters are mild but often rainy, slowly changing the colours of the land and sea. Today, Cabo de Roca is recognised by travel experts as one of the most valuable destinations in the world. The University of Coimbra is a public research university located in the historic city of Coimbra, Portugal. It was officially founded in 1290 by King Denis and recognised the same year by Pope Nicholas IV. This makes it the oldest university in Portugal, and one of the oldest in the world, still operating today. The university first opened in Lisbon before moving permanently to Coimbra in 1537. For centuries, it played a key role in shaping higher education in Portuguese-speaking countries. Its long history is reflected in its architecture, traditions, and academic culture. In 2013, UNESCO officially listed the University of Coimbra as a World Heritage Site. The decision was made unanimously by the World Heritage Committee. The protected area includes important buildings from many different time periods. Together, these buildings cover more than 81 hectares within the old town. The university sits on a hill overlooking the city it has grown with for over 700 years. Today, it has 8 faculties and around 25,000 students, including one of the largest international student communities in Portugal. What if a building could be born from a promise made on a battlefield? In 1385, Portugal faced a serious threat when a powerful army from Castile challenged its right to exist as an independent kingdom. Near the small town of Aljubarrota, King João I led Portuguese forces into a battle that would decide the nation's future. Before the fighting began, he promised the Virgin Mary that he would build a great monastery if Portugal survived the war. Against expectations, the Portuguese army won, securing independence and ending a dangerous political crisis. To honour his vow, the king ordered the construction of the monastery of Santa Maria da Vitória, later known as Batalha Monastery. Built close to the battlefield, the monastery was meant to remember both faith and victory. Construction began in the late 14th century and continued for nearly 100 years under different kings. As time passed, the building grew into a large complex that blended Gothic design with early Manueline elements. Batalha soon became a royal burial place, and the setting for the most important religious ceremonies in Portugal. You've been told that castles are built for war, but for 600 years, Óbidos was the ultimate wedding gift. From the 13th century onward, Portuguese kings gave this castle to their queens as part of their marriage. Because of that tradition, Óbidos became known as a place protected not only by soldiers but by royal loyalty. Yet this role was built on much older foundations long before queens ever lived here. More than 2,000 years ago, Romans settled on this hill and built a city with streets, baths, and public buildings. They chose this location because the high ground made it easy to control the land around it. After the Romans, Visigoths ruled the area, followed by Muslim forces in the 8th century. In 1148, the first king of Portugal, Afonso I, retook Óbidos using a clever trick instead of a long battle. The castle was slowly expanded with towers, gates, and a dungeon during the reigns of later kings. When Queen Urraca received Óbidos as a gift, the castle became known for its loyalty to the crown. Even earthquakes and Napoleonic wars could not destroy Óbidos, and its cannons once fired against Napoleon's army. In a world that never stops moving, people are desperate for silence. For places where time feels slower and life feels simpler. Somewhere between the cliffs and the Atlantic Ocean. Azenhas do Mar still offers that feeling. Azenhas do Mar is a small seaside village built on a high cliff, about 30 kilometres from Lisbon inside the Sintra Cascais Natural Park. The village looks straight out to the Atlantic Ocean, where waves crash far below the houses. Its name means watermills of the sea, taken from the old watermills that once worked nearby. For many years, local life depended on fishing, grain, and wine from the Colares region. Azenhas do Mar became popular only in the 20th century, when wealthy families and even Portuguese kings came to rest by the sea. In 1930, a tram line reached the village, bringing visitors, celebrations, and a new chapter to life on the cliff. Even now, the sound of waves below continues to shape how this village lives and feels. Here, the ocean is not just a view, but the reason the village exists at all. For nearly 300 years, this building had no roof. Generation after generation watched it stand open to the sky, unfinished and forgotten. Today, it rises above Lisbon as the national pantheon. It stands in the historic neighbourhood of Santa Clara, where time seems to move more slowly. What was once meant to be the church of Santa Engracia slowly became something much larger than a church. Construction began in the late 1600s, guided by royal architect João Antunes, but history had other plans. When the architect died and the king turned his attention elsewhere, the walls were left waiting in silence. For centuries, the building became a symbol of endless work, so famous that its name entered everyday language. Only in the 20th century did the story change, when the nation decided this place should honour its greatest voices. A great dome was finally added, lifting marble and stone high above the city. Here rest poets, presidents, singers, athletes, people who shaped the soul of Portugal. Praia da Adraga is a meeting point where mountains touch the ocean, where dark stone breaks golden sand, and where nature feels both gentle and powerful at the same time. This North Atlantic beach lies near the small town of Almocsárdeme in the Sintra region of Portugal. It is known for its clean, cold waters and a wide stretch of golden sand that is easy to walk on. Across the beach, dark rocks are scattered naturally, shaping the landscape and giving Adraga its unique look. These rocks connect the nearby mountains with the ocean, making the beach feel wild and untouched. Outside the swimming season, the beach becomes quiet and open, ideal for long walks along the shore. The rocky areas also attract visitors interested in exploring caves and coastal formations. Because of its natural beauty, Praia da Adraga has appeared in many photographs and travel blogs. For several years in a row, it has received Portugal's Golden Quality Beach Award, recognising its excellent environmental standards. Even though it is difficult to reach by public transport, those who arrive often feel the journey was worth it. Sintra is a town in the Greater Lisbon area of Portugal. Located about 28 to 30 kilometres west of the capital, near the Portuguese Riviera. It sits on the slopes of the Serra da Sintra mountains, which give the town cooler weather and fresh air all year round. Because of this climate and its green forests, Sintra became a popular retreat for Portuguese kings and nobles. What makes Sintra special is that nature, buildings, and town planning were designed to work together. During the 18th and 19th centuries, Sintra reflected European ideas about art, religion, and philosophy. In 1995, UNESCO recognized Sintra as a World Heritage Site for its cultural, historical, and scenic value. Today, Sintra is one of the wealthiest and most visited towns in Portugal, known for both history and natural beauty. Hidden inside the Sintra Cascais Natural Park lies a village many people overlook. It is located about 20 minutes from the historic centre of Sintra and around 32 kilometres from Lisbon. The village sits beside the Atlantic Ocean, with the beach only about 200 metres away. The sandy beach stretches for just over 290 metres along the coast, where a river flows into the sea. In the late 19th century, the first houses were built, slowly forming the village seen today. Praia das Maçãs is now one of the most popular places in Portugal to learn surfing and bodyboarding. The beach is wide and easy to access, making it suitable for families, seniors, and quiet travellers. Long ago, a massive volcano collapsed here, forming a giant caldera. Today, it sleeps quietly, holding a deep green lake shaped by ancient volcanic forces. This is not a fantasy world. This is Boca do Inferno on the island of São Miguel. The viewpoint sits high on a hill, close to Lagoa do Canário, where weather changes fast. Because of its position, clouds often gather here before reaching the rest of the island. Even on bright, sunny days, this spot can be completely hidden behind thick fog. This is why many visitors come but never see the view they hoped for. Those who arrive before 9 in the morning have the best chance of clear skies. The journey begins with a flat 20-minute walk from the main road parking area. After that, a short uphill path leads closer to the edge of the caldera. As the trail rises, the air becomes cooler, often 10 degrees lower than nearby towns. At the top, the clouds may suddenly open, revealing the full shape of the volcanic crater. From here, the lake fills the caldera below, calm, green, and completely still. Few people know this, but Lisbon is older than most modern European capitals, even older than Rome as a political city. This city has existed for thousands of years, long before many European nations were formed. Its long life began on the western side of the Iberian Peninsula, beside the wide Tagus River. Lisbon's position made it the westernmost capital city in mainland Europe. It is also the only mainland European capital that sits directly on the Atlantic coast. Before the Romans arrived, pre-Celtic tribes already lived here. Later, Phoenician traders settled in the area and helped turn Lisbon into an early port city. When Julius Caesar ruled, the Romans renamed it Felicitas Julia and made it an official Roman city. After the Roman Empire collapsed, Germanic tribes ruled the city for several centuries. In the 8th century, the Moors took control and brought new culture, design, and city planning. Many of Lisbon's narrow streets and hillside neighbourhoods come from this time. In 1147, the city was conquered by Afonso Henriques, the first king of Portugal. By 1255, Lisbon replaced Coimbra and became the capital of Portugal, a role it still holds today. From that moment on, Lisbon stood at the centre of Portugal's history, culture, and power. Praia Grande is the biggest beach on the Sintra coast, with more than 2 kilometres of golden sand stretching along the Atlantic. This wide beach sits inside the beautiful Sintra Cascais Natural Park, where land meets sea in a wild, open landscape. Praia Grande is famous for its strong waves and is one of Portugal's favourite spots for surfing and bodyboarding. Every year, European surfing events and even world bodyboarding championships take place right here on the sand. On the southern cliffs above the beach, you can still see real dinosaur footprints that are more than 100 million years old. Many people from nearby Lisbon and Sintra come here in summer to surf, swim, or just enjoy the long, sandy shoreline. If you are searching for a place that can fill both your heart and your eyes, this is it. Standing 133 metres above sea level, where Christ stretches out his arms over the Tagus River, every worry begins to feel small. Before the greatness of one of the largest religious monuments of the 20th century. Inspired by the famous Christ the Redeemer in Rio de Janeiro. This monument was born from a visit made decades earlier. In 1940, during a church conference in Fatima, Portuguese bishops approved its construction as a plea for peace. Their hope was simple and powerful, that Portugal would be spared from entering World War II. When the country escaped the direct destruction of the war, the statue became a symbol of gratitude rather than victory. Construction began in 1949 and took 10 years to complete, supported by the faithful across the country. The monument was finally inaugurated in 1959, standing tall on a cliff above the city of Lisbon. Its arms open wide, facing the capital, as if embracing the city below. From the observation deck, the Tagus River, Lisbon, and the 25th de Abril Bridge unfold in a single breathtaking view. Cascais is a seaside town on Portugal's Estoril coast, located just west of Lisbon. It began as a small fishing village before becoming an important tourist destination. In the 1870s, King Luís I chose Cascais as his summer home every September. Because of this royal choice, Portuguese nobles soon came and formed a summer community here. Over time, Cascais became home to several famous royal figures from Europe. These included King Edward VIII of the United Kingdom, King Juan Carlos I of Spain, and King Umberto II of Italy. The town also once hosted former Cuban President Fulgencio Batista. As royal visitors settled in, elegant 19th century villas were built along the coast and in the historic centre. The town's name comes from the Latin word cascal, which means a pile of seashells. Today, Cascais is often called the Riviera of Portugal because of its beaches and seaside life. From below, São Jorge Castle looks quiet and still. But for over 1,000 years, this place decided the fate of Lisbon. The castle sits on Lisbon's highest hill, giving a full view of the city and the Tagus River below. Because of this position, any group that controlled the hill could defend the city and control movement along the river. This is why fortifications were built here as early as the 2nd century BC. Phoenicians, Romans, and later the Moors all occupied this same hill to protect their rule over Lisbon. For more than 400 years, the Moors governed the city from this fortress, using it as both a palace and a military stronghold. In 1147, Portuguese forces captured the castle during the Siege of Lisbon, marking a turning point in the city's history. After the conquest, the castle became the centre of royal and military power in Lisbon. Even after earthquakes and destruction, the castle was rebuilt because the city could not afford to lose control of this hill. That is why São Jorge Castle was never just a building, but a place that shaped who ruled Lisbon. At the western edge of Europe, where the land finally meets the Atlantic, a beach hides beneath towering cliffs. No guards, no signs, no safety nets. Orsa Beach remains exactly as nature intended, untouched and untamed. Located near Cabo de Roca, the westernmost point of mainland Europe. This beach sits where strong winds and ocean waves shape the land every day. Getting there is difficult because visitors must hike down steep cliffs made of dirt, grass, and loose rocks. The walk from the parking area takes almost 1 hour, and every step requires patience and care. This hard access is the reason Orsa Beach stays so well preserved, with very few tourists reaching the sand below. There are no facilities here, no shops, no lifeguards, and no buildings, only fine sand and open space. Massive limestone rock formations and tall sea stacks rise directly from the beach, formed by thousands of years of wind and water. As the sun sets behind the ocean, the beach glows in soft light, rewarding those who made the long journey down. This is not just a monument. It is shaped like the front of a ship, frozen at the moment before departure. The monument stands on the northern bank of the Tagus River in the Belém area of Lisbon. This riverbank was the place where Portuguese ships once departed to explore and trade with India and the Orient. The monument celebrates the Portuguese age of discovery in the 15th and 16th centuries. At the front of the structure stands Prince Henry the Navigator facing the sea. Behind him are 32 other figures from the age of discovery, making 33 statues in total. These figures include kings, explorers, cartographers, scientists, artists, and missionaries. All the statues are carved to show forward movement toward the unknown ocean. The monument rises 56 metres high and is built from cement and rose-tinted stone from Leiria. In front of the monument is a large compass rose made from different types of limestone. At the centre of the compass rose is a world map showing the sea routes of Portuguese ships. The monument was completed in 1960 to mark 500 years since the death of Prince Henry the Navigator. It's known as the most Portuguese village in Portugal, yet at first glance, it looks like a fantasy world from another planet. Engraved into a steep mountain, granite houses stand between giant boulders shaped by the rock itself. People have lived here since the Stone Age, long before modern Portugal existed. At the foot of the mountain, Romans once settled the land and built bath complexes. In the 12th century, King Afonso I conquered the village and gave it to the Knights Templar. They built a fortress on the summit, turning the mountain into a powerful defensive point. During the Middle Ages, despite being steep and hard to reach, Monsanto became an important regional trade centre. As centuries passed, its importance faded and the population slowly grew smaller. Even so, the village never lost its medieval character, carved deep into stone and time. But Monsanto is only one chapter of this story. Stay with us and let Portugal unfold in ways you might not expect. Aveiro is a coastal city in Portugal, located right next to the Atlantic Ocean and shaped by water from the very beginning. The city is famous for its narrow canals, where long, colourful molotero boats once carried seaweed and salt across town. Because of these canals and boats, Aveiro is often compared to Venice, but its history and rhythm are deeply Portuguese. People have lived in this area since prehistoric times, and the city's old name comes from a Celtic word meaning river mouth. For many centuries, Aveiro grew wealthy through salt production, fishing and sea trade, especially during Roman and medieval times. Its success attracted Portuguese royalty, and Princess St. Joanna lived here, helping the city grow in importance. In 1575, a powerful storm closed the city's port, stopping trade and pushing Aveiro into economic decline. In the 19th century, new artificial canals and railway connections brought trade back and helped Aveiro grow again. Today, Aveiro is known for its canals, its Art Nouveau buildings, and a history closely tied to the sea. Next, we're heading to Peniche, a cool seaside city that sits on a giant piece of rock jutting out into the ocean. Peniche is a small seaside city on the west coast of Portugal, built on a rocky piece of land that reaches out into the Atlantic Ocean. This land is special because scientists say its rocks tell a story from nearly 180 million years ago, during a time when many forms of life on Earth disappeared. Today, the city is famous for its long, windy beaches, where people come to surf, windsurf, and ride fast, powerful waves. These waves are so strong and clean that surfers call Peniche the European pipeline, comparing it to the legendary waves of Hawaii. Near the water stands the Peniche Fortress, once built to protect the coast and later used as a prison during a dark time in Portugal's history. The ocean also shapes the weather here, keeping winters mild and summers cool, with temperatures that change very little through the year. Because of this gentle climate, Peniche feels comfortable to visit almost any time, even on winter nights. Serra da Estrela is located in central Portugal and is the highest place you can reach on the country's mainland. Because of its height, it is the only region in Portugal where real snow falls every winter. This is why people come here to ski, snowboard, and enjoy snow sports that cannot be found anywhere else in the country. The mountains are also famous for an old legend about a shepherd who followed a star to reach the peak. According to the story, the star still appears at night, shining above the mountains and giving the range its name, Star Mountain. Beyond legends, Serra da Estrela is part of a large natural park with nearly 100,000 hectares of protected land. In summer, visitors walk along more than 300 kilometres of trails that pass through valleys, lakes and rocky hills. The area is home to wild animals such as foxes, otters, wild boar, wolves, and a rare mountain lizard found only here. From snowy winters to green summers, Serra da Estrela shows a different face of Portugal that many travellers never expect. 500 years ago, ships crossing between the New World and the Indies stopped here to survive. Without Funchal, many journeys would have never been completed. Located on the southern coast of Madeira, Funchal offered calm waters, fresh food, and a safe place to repair ships. In the early 1400s, Portuguese settlers chose this bay because its land was fertile and its position was perfect for sea travel. Very quickly, the port became a key stop for ships moving between Europe, Africa, and the Americas. Merchants from Italy, France, Spain, and England settled here, shaping the city with new buildings and ideas. In 1508, the Portuguese king officially named Funchal a city, recognizing its importance to Atlantic trade. That importance also made it a target, and in 1566, the city was attacked and heavily damaged by corsairs. Afterward, new forts and walls were built, changing how the city looked and how it protected itself. By the time ships sailed in for trade or rest, Funchal was no longer just a stop. It was a centre of power in the Atlantic world. Praia da Marinha is small, hidden and hard to access, yet it is called one of the most beautiful beaches in the world. It is located on the Atlantic coast of Portugal, in the Algarve region within the municipality of Lagoa. The beach sits near Caramujera and lies slightly away from the main road. To reach the shore, visitors must walk down a steep footpath that leads directly toward the sea. At the bottom, a small sandy beach appears, surrounded by tall orange limestone cliffs. These cliffs are the most recognizable feature of Praia da Marinha. The beach is also known for the high quality of its water. Because of its natural beauty, it has often been used in international advertising campaigns. Television producers have also chosen this beach as a filming location. In 1998, the Portuguese Ministry of the Environment awarded Praia da Marinha the Golden Beach title. Later, the Michelin Guide listed it as one of the 10 most beautiful beaches in Europe. CNN included Praia da Marinha among the world's most beautiful beaches with cliffs in 2018. In 2019, CNN again recognised it as one of the best destinations in the world. And the best Portuguese beach to visit in September? Portugal is a country shaped by the ocean, by history, and by places that reveal themselves slowly. From dramatic cliffs to quiet beaches, each location tells only one part of a much larger story. What you have seen here is not a full picture, but a small window into how diverse this land truly is. That is why no single journey and no single video can ever fully capture it. Thank you for travelling through Portugal with us. See you in the next journey.